Welcome to the Jennifer O'Brien Show. I am your host, Jennifer O'Brien. There it is. I said it 3 times. Just wanted to make sure you knew who I was. And I don't know if that's a problem for you, but in case it is, now you know. And yes, it's great to be here. Glad to be back. I wonder if anybody ever shows up to their podcast and like, man, sucks to be here for me. And even if they feel that way, probably not going to say it. But no, I am excited to be here. Sometimes I'm excited to pop on here. Not quite sure what I'm always going to say, but just kind of know it's going to come as I just start opening my mouth. Right now, as I speak, I have kitty cat Charlie at my feet and dog Snoopy sniffing kitty cat Charlie. So hopefully he's not going to start barking. It's been oh, there it is. Okay. It's been a coexist situation here since we brought the cat in. I don't think the dog's really going to hurt the cat. He just likes to bully and terrorize the cat. But the cat's not just sitting there taking it. Like, cat's coming at him and giving him some scratches here and there. It's actually really adorable. And I love having a kitty cat. It's been kind of on my goal sheet for about 3 years now. And I don't think I would have pushed to get one on my own, but my youngest daughter pushed for a little kitty cat, and a lot of prayer, a lot of conversations, and of course you get it. Then when therapist gave us a free cat, she's like, your family needs a therapy cat. Here you go. So we're excited, and his name's Charlie. It's like we got the whole Peanuts gang here. Well, we have Snoopy and Charlie Brown. Although we don't call him Charlie Brown. We call him Charlie, Charles, all sorts of nicknames. He's super cute. And like, that's the highlight of my day right now is I just walk around the house holding the kitty, and he lets me hold him. And I've just got some major kitty cat therapy. And I'm just going to say this right now. People knocking cat ladies out there, ooh, I'm kind of getting it. You know what I mean? It's been a while since I've had a cat, and kind of getting how you could just keep on filling your house with a bunch of cats because they're so adorable, at least for now. He sounds like a little gremlin in my hands. He makes the cutest noises. So, and I like having a dog too. Love puppies and all that, but I don't know, like whole nother level. Maybe it's just because he's a kitten and I'm super excited. And it's just neat and he follows me around, a little shadow. So anyway, that's what we've been dealing with. I'm going to get the bumper stickers that say coexist, but it's going to be a dog on one end and a cat on the other. Oh my God, adorable, right? At least for now. Hopefully they'll be friends at some point, but at least now they're just kind of in the same. The dog is still barking and chasing the cat quite a bit, but it's getting better. It's getting better. So we'll see. That's kind of a lot. Having a cat in the house, a new kitty is it's a lot to take on. So I'm glad we're doing it during the summer, so we're all home a little more and able to enjoy the cat. And so that's been major thing going on here is dealing with the fur babies. And I have a whole bit about my dog and that I don't refer to him as my fur baby. Because if you've ever heard me talk about my dog, he's kind of a handful. He's real loud, barky, and whiny. And so I say we're more like coworkers. But it's kind of cute having two because they both follow you around and both are standing in the kitchen. I don't know. I'm like, oh, I see why people call their animals their fur babies. Because you start to feel like they're little kids chasing you around. And as much as I used to kind of knock that whole thing, I'm like, I kind of get it a little bit. So I'm not going to get any bumper stickers, though. Ask me about my fur baby. How about I don't? And no, some of those bumper stickers are really funny. And so we're just not much going on these days. Okay. And now the dog's back in here chewing some stuff. I think he likes to take some sort of chewy and in front of the cat, kind of really rip it up and just kind of letting the cat know, listen, don't cross me, or this could be you kind of thing. So no, yeah, so not much going on. Got some shows coming this up in a few weeks, so that's been good. Just been getting ready for that. And what else is going on? Not much. Just if you're curious to how the whole cleanse thing is going, I'm kind of stopping all that for a minute. You know, sometimes those cleanses, at least for me, sometimes there's always that backfire period where like always starts off like, oh man, this is it. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna be like so much healthier after this. And then you're like, I feel really bad. This is backfiring. It's not working out the way everyone said it should. And then you're just like, I feel worse than I did before. And I know a lot of that now is just not properly eliminating toxins, yada, yada, yada. But right now I'm not doing anything. I'm just continuing you know what I mean? I'm just trying to get back to what I felt like before I decided to do the cleanse. Like, can I just get back to that? I was doing pretty good. I don't know why I even tried to get in there and start killing worms off in my digestive tract. But apparently they barricaded up in there. And now I'm just trying to say, guys, just unbarricade yourself and just go back to eating all my nutrition. And we'll just coexist. You know what I mean? Like, I'll get that bumper sticker. And it'll be a worm on one side and me on the other. And worm will be smiling. I'm just like, you know, I'll have this face like, whatever. You know, I'm just going with it. So, no, I'm kidding. So that's that. I don't know about doing the colonics thing. I just kind of started feeling like a lot. So I've got to look into all that. Yeah, so that's what's going on with my cleanse, in case you were wondering. And I'm still having to hit the prune juice a little bit here and there, if you're wondering that too. It's like, can we just get back to normal? No. So that's going on. And, yeah, let's see. You know, it's like I could find millions of things, millions of things to talk about, but, got to be selective here. So, you know, so you'll actually come back and listen for more. So I told you I went to that conference last week, and oh Lord, the dog is literally chewing up one of those scrubber things from the bathroom, you know, like you get sudsies in them and like suds them up and you scrub them on, like, so I gave it to the cat because it was just sitting in my bathroom forever to play with, and the cat was just, you know, batting at it. It was cute. And now the dog is literally shredded all over the house. And now that's going to be a cleanup for quite a minute. And that's what I'm saying. He just wants to, he's a destroyer though. He was like that before the cat came in the picture. Anyway, you know me, y'all don't get me started on my fur babies. I will be here all day long, y'all. You know, what was I saying before that? That's the beauty of being distracted by the animals. Oh, yeah. So I went to that conference, and one of the challenges was to post every day on your social media, which I'm just choosing Facebook. It's the easiest. Post a new joke and something inspirational for the entire month of July, and read proverb, whatever the day of the month is, read that proverb in that psalm. Right? So we'll go all the way up to Proverbs 31, being July, and to Psalm 31. Or if you want to be like a overachiever, you could like do 5, I don't know how many psalms, like 5 psalms a day, 10 a day. I don't really know how many there are. No, there's like 140 something, or maybe 50 or 60. Anyway, either way, if you wanted to get through all the psalms in one month, you could do that too, depending on, but anyway, that was the challenge. And I'm going to be honest with you, even as the challenge was being put out there, I was like, I don't really want to do this. And then I was reminded of the challenge via Messenger by Kenny Cornbread Robinson, who's a very funny comedian who threw the challenge out. And I was like, oh man, I got to do it. You know, it's only a month. So I've been posting a lot more. So if you want to check out my Jennifer O'Brien comedy Facebook page. Oh Lord. Dogs, don't you even start. No, sorry. This is how it has to go. Snoopy, no. Calm down. So, yeah, this is me playing No, look at me. Look at my. Oh, great. This is just pure chaos. Snoopy, stop. We're not starting right now. I'm about to put you out of the room. So, yeah, he ripped the cord out of the thing. That's just fun. So now he just literally, and then he looks at the cat, and he just wants to intimidate the cat and bark. Sometimes, and a lot of times the cat's like, what? What are you going to do? It's only when the cat takes off running, and then he barks louder, and it's a whole thing. Snoopy, you're just too much. And anyway, so this has just been my life for the last month. Anyhow, so I've been posting a lot. So if you just want to see a joke a day, 6 days. Today is July 7th. So I've posted 6 days in a row, which is kind of big for me because socials. I have there we go again. Okay. So I may have to stop this to handle these fur babies. Hold on. Snoopy, stop. Hush. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay, I'm back. So thanks so much for putting up with my fur babies. So what I thought would be really fun today is if I were to share some of my kidnapping stories with you because, come on, why not? So I grew up, my parents were divorced when I was 4 years old. And, I have a lot of friends and we can all share some of the crazy stuff we went through in childhood. And some of my crazy stuff was being kidnapped by my dad. It was just kind of my childhood, you know what I mean? And my dad was kind of a wild guy and he has since been long in recovery. He's an ex-cocaine and addict and alcoholic. But he's been in recovery since 1992, I believe. And he's an amazing guy. He loves Jesus, and you will not be in a conversation with my dad for a minute and not know that. Like he's all in. You know what I mean? Like he's a kind of all in guy, and that's what I love about him. Heart on his sleeve, amazing guy. And he's always been that way. My dad was the kind of the Disney dad, putt-putt golf, showbiz, Chuck E. Cheese, let's go have fun. He was a big kid raising kids, when we were with him. So my dad was my favorite person growing up. I mean, my dad hung the moon as far as I was concerned. And so when my sister and I were being kidnapped by my dad, I mean, we were like, bring it on. Like we didn't know what was going on. My poor mom, she was the one traumatized by the whole thing. My sister and I, we were clueless. We were just thinking, hey, I guess we're going to spend some extra time with dad, unexpected dad trip. You know what I mean? So we didn't know. And I'll share a couple of the kidnapping stories that I can remember because this is back when I was 4, 5, 6 years old when a lot of this was happening. But one I remember, we were on our way to St. Augustine from Jacksonville, and my dad, somehow, I knew we weren't supposed to be with my dad that day, but I had my bathing suit on, and we were going to St. Augustine, so we were excited, and I was in the back seat in the Cutlass Sierra, and, in the window, remember the windows of those old cars were so big, but there was that little like step thing where you could just lay. I just laid in that window and just hung out. There were no seatbelt laws really back then. So kids were it's like a jungle gym. You got in the car and you were just flopping over that big seat and back and forth, played hide and go seek. We knew how to have a good time on a road trip. Poor kids these days, they're just, you got to stay in your car seats and, not us. We were just, we were just, like I said, we were playing tag. You know what I mean? And you could do pretty good getting shimmy down under the, especially if you had a station wagon. I mean, you had a lot of ground to cover, and nobody was telling you to get in your seat or seatbelt. So, but I remember we were on our way to St. Augustine, and I think the car behind us, my dad he's kind of a crazy driver. At least he used to be. And I think we might have cut them off, but I don't know. They must have honked at us or something. I knew my dad was upset with them. So at 4 years old, I remember just giving them the bird, because that's the kind of 4-year-old I was. You know what I mean? Just giving birds out to people that I didn't like. So that was one of the kidnapping journeys. I don't even know if we made it to the beach. I have a feeling we didn't. I think we went to some pizza parlor. Possibly there was a girlfriend there. We didn't know, and fell asleep there. I was really good at falling asleep at places when I was a kid, and I could sleep through just about anything. It was a gift. My sister, very opposite, couldn't sleep hardly anywhere, woke up easily. Me, I guess that's the trauma. You just learn to shut it out and sleep through it. So what else? Oh, my least favorite kidnapping was the one where I got left behind. Okay, no child left behind. Well, I got left behind this time. And my dad went to pick my sister up at her school, got her. Then phone calls were made. Now my school was told to not release me to my dad. So my dad comes to get me. They don't let me go. So now my sister and my dad are off. Okay, he's got one of the kids. He's like, I got to go. I got to do this thing. He's following through with whatever he was trying to do there. And my mom came and picked me up, and she took me to, I guess she thought my dad was coming back for me. Now, I don't know why this was the mother of all kidnappings, but I got put with a family I never met before. And I was at their house for several days. My mom was in there. My sister was in there. My dad, it was just me by myself in a normal family. It was really traumatic. You know what I mean? I walked in, their kids were playing with toys, and does somebody want to kidnap me? What are we doing here? They're like, just play with the toys like a normal kid. And I'm like, what? Nobody's kidnapping me? I don't know. I just want to be napped. And no, I'm kidding. So all I remember was playing at this, being with these people, working on a severe anxiety disorder because I didn't know any of them. And at night I would just wet the bed, because I wet the bed all the time back in those days. I was really good at wetting beds, and it was so bad. Anytime we'd go anywhere, I'm like, oh, I had no problem falling asleep, but trust me, I'd pee it wherever I was. It was just, I was going to pee it all up. And, not much I could do about that until I got older. But, so I just, in exchange for a place to stay, I ruined a mattress for them. And I was so excited when my mom finally came back and picked me up. I was like, oh, thank God, back in my own bed, wet this thing again. But my sister, apparently this was the time they went to my aunt's house, my dad's sister, and my cousins were there. So she got to hang out with my cousins, and they had 2 hamsters and a turtle. So she was playing with the hamsters and the turtle all week while I was, wetting the bed and, working on an anxiety disorder. So she had a good time. I didn't. So that's my least favorite kidnapping story. Then there was one where my grandparents got involved in one of the kidnappings. And I have a whole joke about it. It takes a village, to kidnap. So my dad's parents, like I said, my sister and I typically didn't know what was going on. We just remember being on a Sunday drive with Grandma and Grandpa. And, just out cruising the streets of Jacksonville. And my grandfather from the front seat tells my sister and I in the back seat, he's like, get down on the floorboard. We didn't know what was going on. We're like, what? And, when my grandfather said, get down, you listen, he's from the Bronx. He was no joke. So we did what grandfathers told us to do. And I vaguely remember knowing that somehow that at that point we were driving where maybe some of my mom's side of the family was, and that I think he wanted them to see him and my grandmother in the car, but not us. So I don't know if it was them trying to throw off the trail. So weird. We were caught up in some weird stuff. And I always say we were life-sized pawns in a dysfunctional game of chess. That's what the whole thing felt like as a child. And so that's when the grandparents got involved. I remember that one. And then I'm working on my story right now. I'm working on trying to write out some of my stuff from childhood. And as I was writing it, I was like, oh, wait, I think my other set of grandparents actually kidnapped us too. And the way that went down is we had moved out to Texas and then Oklahoma for about 4 or 5 years. And then we would just fly in every summer to visit my dad and my grandparents. And all my family was living in Jacksonville. My mom's one of 10, my dad's one of 6. So just a lot of family out there. So we would go visit everybody. It was so fun to come back and visit. And this one summer, my dad was like, you guys are staying. And he's like, you guys are going to stay. You're going to go to St. Paul's Catholic School. He got us all involved in the basketball team. My sister and I were so excited. We're like, good. Because we had just moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we hated Oklahoma. It just was so rural at that. I can't speak for how it is now, but back in 80s, mid 80s, we didn't know anybody. It was just quite, ugh. And so we were excited that we were thinking, oh, we don't have to go back to the place we don't like anyway. So yeah, great. We get to stay. So that whole summer we're being told we're not going home. And then somehow my mom's side of the family, because, we got big families here, somebody leaked, some word got out that my dad was not going to send us back. So my mom's parents show up at my other grandparents' house one day, and they're like, oh, we just want to take the girls for just a drive and spend some time. And so we get in the car with them, and as we're pulling away from my other grandparents' house, they drop the bomb on us that you guys are not going back. And my sister and I become like hysterical, like crying and freaking out. We're like, all of our clothes are there, all of our, because think about it. All summer we're being told we're going to school. This is our new normal. This is our life. So we are hysterical. I remember my sister and I coming up with a plan, because when we got back to my grandparents' house, they lived on a 2-story condo, that one of us was going to jump out the bathroom window, possibly break a limb, but the ambulance would have to come. We'd have to go to the emergency room, and then we would get a phone, because when we got to my grandparents' house, they took the phones away. Like, it was legit. Like, we were this hysterical. But, we were kids, and I didn't want to be the jumper, and my sister wasn't jumping. So it sounded really good, and I'm sure we got the idea from watching all that wonderful television that we grew up with in the 80s, very colorful television, and probably got it from an after-school special. Who knows? But how to get out of trauma, or, away from kidnappers. I'm sure we saw some episode. And but we didn't follow through with it. And by that evening, we were fine. We were putting on shows for Grandma and Grandpa, back to normal. Everybody was cool. My mom did fly in, and my Uncle Pat drove us and my mom to the Orlando airport. Usually we'd fly out of Jacksonville airport, but for some reason, I don't know why. And then my dad had found out about it. We didn't know that. We got to the Orlando airport. My Uncle Pat headed back to Jacksonville. This is before cell phones, right? So we get there and we get to our gate. And when we get to our gate, my dad and my grandfather are there at the gate. And my mom and my dad have the worst fight I've ever experienced. Like, they used to fight like on the phone, but they were in the airport fighting, like yelling obscenities. And I mean obscenities at each other. It was brutal. The stuff that was being said was just brutal. And so it was very traumatizing. So my sister and I are sitting there watching it. A police officer has to come over. He's like, okay, well, just show me the papers and the girls are yours. And unfortunately, my mom the papers were on the airplane. She'd booked them, or, checked the bags. We didn't, I guess none of us expected my dad to show up. But he found out. With my dad and my grandfather, there was no way. They have ways, I guess, of finding things out. So they had found out, and the officers told my sister, like, that the girls, we were able to choose. Now, granted, remember, all summer long, we're being told we're staying, yada, yada. So my sister chooses my dad. Of course, I'm going to go where my sister goes, because I'm the younger one, and you just natural order. And even though my mom's there, and I know my mom's going to be mad, and it was just so traumatic. Here's how traumatizing that event was. I don't remember leaving the airport. I don't remember getting back to Jacksonville. And I don't really remember getting back on a plane to go to Tulsa, but we did. We somehow did. And that's how traumatic that was. That somehow I blacked it out. I blocked it out or blacked out. I don't really remember. So that was the lead. So that I always say that's one last napping for the books, because my mom had the rightful custody. I vaguely remember being back at my grandparents' house and a phone call coming in, and my dad kind of that look of like, yeah, there's nothing I can do about it. Unfortunately, as an adult, I'm like, why were we dragged through that? How, like, could anybody thinking about the kids right now? Because I am still dealing with trauma well into adulthood. Thank you. Over some of the crazy stuff that I went through. But yeah, so that was, I want to, maybe that's probably that's the least favorite. I mean, I know I had the one where I got left behind, and, like I said, I worked on that anxiety disorder with the family I'd never met before for a week. But that one at the airport, that was the worst, because I'm sure thinking when we got back on that plane, my sister and I, to go back to Tulsa, we were probably thinking, Mom's going to kill us. Mom's going to kill us. So much craziness. So, which is really fun. When I talk about childhood trauma on here, I don't know if I've talked about this one, but it wasn't until last year during the pandemic where I don't know if I've told this yet, but my daughters and I my husband was in Vegas for the whole beginning, like for 6 months of the pandemic. Eventually his company flew us out there when things were starting to open up again, yada, yada. And we were out there. I had missed him. Remember, like, we were all being locked down. I'm basically home. My oldest she's not living with us, or I don't know. It's hard I forget where everybody was at. I just remember it was very isolating. So we were out there for about 4 days visiting my husband. And that day we had to get back on the plane to come back to Georgia. Like, I remember being really, really sad to leave my husband. But the minute we started to take off and fly home, like, I had like the most craziest flight. Like, I was anxious. Like, I know anxiety. Like, trust me, I've had it my whole life. But this was a whole nother level. This was like, I'm losing my mind up in here kind of stuff. And it was so like, I couldn't, like, I knew we were in the pen. I knew I was sad. I knew I was feeling all these things, but it was almost like too much that I couldn't take it. So once we landed and I came down, I was like, I just need to eat, get some good food. I need to hydrate, all the things, if you've ever struggled with any of that, you got your checklist, you've got your dialogue, you got your affirmations, you got your prayers, you got your tools. But this was a really rough moment. But as I'm working on my story, God revealed that flight from Tulsa and my flight leaving Vegas, and the sadness and the trauma I was feeling from that Tulsa flight at 11, and that flight I was feeling coming back from Vegas, it was like had triggered that stuff, that trauma. And it's kind of funny because I would always tend to struggle when I would be coming home from places and I had to fly home. Flying out, no big deal. Flying back, I was always like not well, like really like wonky. And it helped me really see like, oh, this is some trapped stuff. This is some deep stuff that I hadn't dealt with when you're 11, you don't really have the capacity to really process. But as an adult, you have the tools, you have the capacity, you have the time, you've got to work at it. So anyway, as I unpacked that and worked through it and prayed and journaled and healed and cried and grieved, and, I feel like it doesn't bother me anymore. But it's really interesting how you can be going along in life and be like, oh, I'm fine, or and then something wonky happens and you're like, what the heck, and the good news is like God, as I'm learning, like when we get those moments, it's not like God's like, oh, I just want you to feel bad or I want you to feel miserable. It's like, okay, why do I feel this way? And asking the right questions and sitting with those feelings, sitting with those thoughts, journaling, praying, talking it through, and getting to the other side, and I'm just been on such a healing journey. I feel like most of my life is about recovery, is about healing, is about learning and growing and not staying stuck in the past and not staying wounded from the past that I can't grow. And I'm currently getting some great counseling right now and working through even more stuff because, why not? Why not? Life doesn't have enough challenges. Or you know what? Actually, now that my kids are older and life is slowing down, it's like, oh, well, let's clean up some of that I never really knew or kind of maybe even had the mental capacity to process before. So that is my journey, and I'm on it, and I would love to hear if anybody else is on that journey of self-discovery and healing. And I know I've spent most of my life just surviving, and I like to say that now I'm getting in a place where I'm thriving, where I'm actually healing from a lot of hurts and healing from a lot of past stuff, that it's like, oh, this is what normal feels like. I didn't even know I could feel normal. I literally, most of my life, I would just be like, I just want normal. Like I would look at women in the grocery store and I'd be like, oh my gosh, she looks so normal. Or I'd be like at daycare or at school, PTA meeting, and I'd look at women, I'd be like, oh, she's so normal in her skin. Like, I'm just, you know what I mean? Like, I just wanted that. Like, I didn't care about anything else. Like, I just went normal. What does it feel like to feel normal? And, yeah, I think so we all have our goals in life. I just wanted normal. And now I'm kind of getting to that other side. I'm like, oh, this is what it feels like to not, be racked with anxiety and depression all day. Isn't this lovely? I didn't know this existed. Oh, I saw it on TV and in other people, but I didn't know it could exist for me. And it's good, but it takes work. It takes doing the work, and it's a lot, but it's worth it, right? It's like, I guess it would be like anything in life that you want to better. If you have a house and you want to renovate it, and you're going to have to, do the work. I don't know. I'm just grasping here for some sort of analogy about doing some of the work, but it's worth it because, where else am I going to live? This is the only brain and body, mind, soul, spirit I've got for this life. So might as well spend some time working at it. That, or just check out and watch Netflix all day. I could do that yet. But yeah, I'm going to share the scripture with you that is so encouraging me right now. It's the Passion Translation, which I knew it existed, but I'm kind of really getting into it and discovering it for myself. Not all the books of the Bible have been translated yet in the Passion version, but Psalm 18 has. And let me tell you, the whole psalm is well worth the read. But I'm going to just read Psalm 18:35 of the Passion Translation. It says, "You empower me for victory with your wraparound presence. Your power within makes me strong to subdue. By stooping down in gentleness, you made me great." And wow, like so many levels here. But one thing I love about this, it's you empower me for victory with your wraparound presence. And I just envision, as I've really been doing more meditation and prayer, it's like I always envision like this shield around me that God just protects me. It's like, I know, okay, I was a Twilight mom, confession. So if you got into the Twilight books, which I did, oh my gosh, it was hello desperate, right? So I got all into it because my teenager was into it, right? Yeah, exactly. No, I did kind of get into it for a minute. It's like Edward Cullen's up in these woods. I can feel his presence. But anyway, if you read the series, like Bella has this shield and she ends up protecting everybody in the whole last scene of the movie or last book of the movie, whichever. I did both. And I'm not a big reader, so that's a big deal. I like to read nonfiction, but yes. Anyway, I feel like that's that shield. Like it's this shield that God has around me. And maybe you can't visit, but it's like I keep envisioning this wraparound shield, and I feel like that's with me wherever I go. And I'm currently right now working on a lot of driving anxiety that I've had most of my life. And as I continue to grow and get better and stronger, it's this vision of like God has this strong shield around me at all times. So I love the way it puts it. It's like this wraparound shield. Just made me think of Bella. And it says, your power within makes me strong to subdue. And I think about the Holy Spirit being that power within that makes me strong to subdue, to overcome. That it's not just me trying to work all this stuff out. Like I don't think I'd be up for it. If I had to do all this, if I had to be on this journey with just me, because I read and I've sifted through a lot and I've been through a lot and I've practiced a lot and I've read, but to feel like it's always up to me all the time, like I need to know Jesus has got my back. Like there's days I'm like, I can't do this. You know what I mean? And I just love that. I don't know how people do it without him, and people might say, I don't know how you do this with him. And that's I just don't know any other way. So anyway, I just love that power, and I believe that being Holy Spirit power gives me the power to overcome. And the last part, by stooping down in gentleness, you made me great. And I just feel like this vision of God, I think in NIV it says you bend over, you stoop down to make us great. And it just shows the love of God, that he comes and he meets us where we're at. And he meets us where, I can only be where I'm at today, and I can only be me, I can look at all these other people and be like, oh my gosh, they're so far ahead of me. They're so far better. They're better at this, yada, yada, yada. Or like, okay, well, you know what? I'm here. I'm showing up. And I have all this stuff that I don't know what to do with it. So, but God doesn't waste it. I will say, if you have past trauma or pain or things you're still working on, it will not be wasted. I always think of the story of Joseph. What the enemy meant for evil, God intended for good. And as we continue to lay down our lives, as we continue to submit and surrender to Christ and his healing power, it's this incredible journey of self-discovery, but of also going from just, surviving life to now thriving. And I never thought that was possible. So anyway, I love that version. I would definitely suggest you read the whole thing of the Passion. You can get it on an app. That's where I read it. But thanks so much for joining me today and listening to my crazy stories. If you would like to share, please leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. You can always reach out to my Gmail, which is JenniferO'BrienComedy@gmail.com, if you wanted to share any of your stories, which I'd love to hear. And if you want to check me out, I'm JenniferO'BrienComedy.com. And I'm always open for feedback and encouragement. And hey, wait, 5-star review. Oh, yeah, if you want to leave a review and you want to let me know you left a 5-star review, I will send you a t-shirt. I'm just saying, Jennifer O'Brien Comedy t-shirt. So, but you do need to leave it, and then just send me a Gmail and with your address, and I'll be happy to do that for you. So, yeah, and that's Jennifer O'Brien Comedy@gmail.com. So hopefully that wasn't too much, and I hope you have an amazing week, and yeah, go be great. Go be great. All right, thanks for joining us.